thing I want to talk about while we're here is within the Project 2025 and all that. Well, let me go back to this. So he's already started to implement it. The guy this is what's happening though. He's having a problem. He wants to put these people in place, but a lot of them he knows cannot get confirmed. They're not going to qualify to get confirmed for these positions by the Senate. Even though it's a Republican-controlled Senate, he knows they're not going to push these people through because they're nuts. So, I mean, even his own party, parts of it are going to sit there and go, no, this is too crazy. So he's trying to put these, what he's called recess positions, where basically I just put a guy in a position, he doesn't really have any power, but he can sort of consult or do things like that. So his first guy that he's done with that is this guy named Tom Homan. Tom Homan, if you don't know who he is one of the architects of the putting kids in cages and separating families at the border. He's a really heartless ghoul. But we're going to watch a little bit about this. So he's basically been named the border czar, which is not a real thing. He doesn't really have any power, but he's going to have a lot of connections and influence over what happens because he's going to be speaking on behalf of the president. So this is what the guy they want to put in immigration.
President-elect Donald Trump's administration is starting to take shape. He's announced who he'll tap to lead border security and is also weighing in on the new Republican-controlled Senate. ABC's Christiane Cordero has the latest.
This morning, former Immigration and Customs Enforcement Director Tom Homan, who carried out one of the most controversial border policies during Donald Trump's first term, is set to return to the White House. The president-elect announced Homan will serve as border czar, tapped to fulfill Trump's campaign promise of the largest mass deportation in American history. Homan recently spoke with 60 Minutes.
I hear a lot of people say, the talk of a mass deportation is racist, it's threatening to the immigrant community. It's not threatening to the immigrant community. It should be threatening to the illegal immigrant community.
As ICE director, Homan led the zero tolerance policy that separated parents from their children at the border. The ACLU estimates between 500 and 1,000 families have yet to be reunited. When asked if there's a way to carry out mass deportations without separating families, Homan said this.
Of course there is. Families can be deported together.
Trump also weighing.
There was. So this is the guy that separated children from their parents, put the kids in lockup in cages. And they had lawyers at the ACLU and whatnot go there, and they're looking at the list of children they want to interview to find out how the conditions are and what's going on. And one of the women was like, yeah, I saw one that was, the age was listed as 0. So I asked to see that kid. I waited a few minutes. The guy came back and said, well, they're not answering. Yeah, because they're an infant. Of course they're not answering. They don't know their name. I mean, it was crazy. And then when she got in there, she found out that the people taking care of these really young children were the older children. That the guards weren't really doing much. Yeah, there was a lot of abuse, a lot of problems. There's still, like she said, anywhere between 500 to 1,000 families and still missing their children. And this is what, 8 years later? They still don't know where their kids are? They just lost children. They didn't keep track. I mean, he oversaw that. That was the guy. And like they said, when they asked, well, is there any way to do this without separating families? He's talking about deporting people with their families. But it's like, well, what if the one of the spouses is an American citizen and their spouse isn't? And you guys decide to rescind their visa for whatever reason. Because they're going to expand what illegal means. They're not just going to keep it to, oh yeah, legal immigrants. They're going to get rid of temporary status. They're going to go after immigrants who are on welfare. They're going to target those people, get rid of them. But if they're in a relationship or married to somebody else who's here, they have kids that are here, well, we'll just deport the children and the spouse with them. Well, the children and the spouse are American citizens. So I don't know what he's talking about, but he's insane. So he's a heartless ghoul. And there are more to come, and it's getting bad. He's put a lot of war hawks in there. And we'll talk about that kind of stuff later and whether or not we go to war with Iran. But that's a possibility.